Hello, welcome to Rappler Talk. I'm Marites Vitug. Our guest is former Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio, lead convener of 1Sambayan. As you know, 1Sambayan is a group of various individuals and organizations that has pushed for a common candidate for the opposition in next year's presidential election. And their choice is, drum roll, Vice President Leni Robredo, which they announced this afternoon. So after Justice Carpio retired from the Supreme Court, he crossed over into the murky world of politics to help the opposition forces get together. This is a tough job in our country's fractured politics. We will talk to Justice Carpio about Isambayan's choice and the story behind this daunting process. Thank you, Justice Carpio, for joining us, and welcome to Rappler Talk.
Good evening, Marites. Good evening to our viewers. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, so I just wanted to know, you must have seen the statement of Vice President Leni Robredo basically thanking Isambayan for choosing her. So isn't that just half a statement? Where's the yes?
Well, I think we will expect that in the next few days. Uh, she has until October 8th. That's the deadline that she has set. But I think she will make a decision maybe a few days earlier.
But Justice Carpio, didn't you get signals from her camp about a willingness to run for 2022? I mean, you wouldn't take the risk of choosing her without, no signals, no sensitive antenna.
Well, I think she has said publicly that if she has to run to stop the Marcoses from coming back and to put an end to the Duterte uh, administration, to prevent another Duterte from taking over the government, she would be willing to run. So I think that's the bottom line. She herself said that.
Yes. And in the beginning of Isambayan, I mean, we've been watching your group closely, and you said that you wanted to unify the opposition and field a single candidate. Of course, that's not happening now. So the question is, have you failed in this goal?
Well, if you look at the those who declared uh, and have not joined Isambayan, you have Lacson and Soto declaring already, but they said they are not opposition. So we have to take them out. You have Pacquiao, of course, and Isco have declared. But Isco is part of our process because he rejoined Isambayan and agreed to be put in our ballot when we conducted the internal survey with our members. So that leaves Manny Pacquiao. Uh, we've been talking to him, uh, uh, but there has been no progress. Uh, but if you have to look at his track record, uh, if you're looking for a real opposition, uh, it was only recently that he broke away from the Duterte administration. In fact, he's part of the ruling coalition in the Senate. So uh, we could put him and put him together uh, with Lacson, who were part of the Duterte administration or in coalition with the Duterte administration. Of course, we would like Manny Pacquiao to join us, but he has decided to run his own so far. Uh, and you have Isco Moreno, who joined us and then withdrew, but rejoined us. And if you join the Isambayan process, you agree to abide by the decision of the Isambayan, and whomever Isambayan chooses, you agree to support him or her who is chosen to be the presidential candidate. So we still don't know how Isco Moreno will react to the choice. We'll have to wait how he reacts. Thank you.
So you have not heard from Mayor Moreno since your press conference today at 2 o'clock.
Not yet. We have not heard yet from him.
So, Justice, it's interesting that Senator Manny Pacquiao released a photo of some of the conveners, I think which was taken in a meeting with him in his house in Forbes Park. So that was quite interesting that he released it, not Isambayan. I was just interested to know, how did the meeting go, and what did you take away from that meeting? I mean, it was sort of suspended animation, or no commitment, or just listening to each other?
Well, because we've said that we will try to reach out with everyone, and we were conducting our survey, so it was a time for us to explain to Manny Pacquiao that although he has not joined our process, we have included him in our ballot, but in a separate line. Those who have joined our process, we have listed Robredo, Trillanes, and Moreno. But those who have not joined our process but have declared that they're running, we also included them just to ask our members their opinion, because it the survey is really, we call it pulso ng isang bayan. We wanted to get the pulse of our members. So, and we explained that although he has not joined isang bayan, we have put his name there just to get the pulse of our members. And we told him that he can at any time just tell us if you want to join. So that was the tenor of that meeting. We explored the possibility of uh, having him as part of our process, but he said he will be declaring a few days later. So that's how it went.
Yes. And so, the other question, of course, I think, which was asked of you earlier in the press con, but I'd like to go into a bit more detail. If Mayor Moreno, who has abided by your process, decides to run, there is no sanction because it's a moral obligation, as you said. But what will it mean for him? I mean, how will the public perceive him if he does not abide by the Isambayan process?
Well, it's up to the public how to interpret that. As I said, I don't want to nitpick on that. But that is part of our process if you join the Isabayan process, because the objective is to have only one candidate. But of course, there's no way for us to enforce that kind of a gentleman's agreement. Uh, so, well, people know that that is part of our process. But if he decides not to abide by it, there's nothing we can do to enforce that decision.
So you described the process. You had an internal survey called Pulso, and those who participated are the heads of organizations, because you said you have all nearly 3 million members. So who participated in the Pulso, or the
The
internal
member,
survey?
those who participated were the members. They were given. We had uh, several methods of getting their votes. Uh, we have they can go into a Zoom meeting with their members, or they can have an email voting, or they can have a physical voting. We sent ballots to them, and the fourth, a hybrid of the three. So there were four methods, and but our biggest members are the laborers, the Federation of Free Workers, the Pagkakaisa, and they don't have they don't have internet, they don't have computers, tablets. So that's why instead of getting 3 million, we got only about a little over 150,000 votes. But that's enough because we tried our best.
Yeah. So, Justice Carpio, looking at the process of trying to get the opposition together, what to you was the most daunting part of it? I mean, you crossed over, as I said, from the judiciary to this difficult world of politics. So, what to you were the maybe the most contentious issues in putting together this process and choosing a candidate?
Well, we have a very broad coalition from the left to the right. So we have the Bayan Muna, and we have the Magdalo, we have retired military officials, we have the traditional parties, we have uh, s- uh, the civilian component or the uh, civil society component of the Liberal Party called Samahan ng mga Liberal. We have the religious groups, the group of Brother Eddie. So it's a very desperate, very broad group. We have religious groups. We have students from UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, and other schools. So it was not easy to keep them together, but our vision of having only one candidate, because that will make our chances of winning in May 2022 a lot better. And so we have remained intact so far up to today, up to the time that we announced our choice. So that was quite a feat, considering that you have leftists and you have rightists within our group and everybody in between. But I think everybody had a sincere desire to just put up one candidate to put an end to the Duterte administration. I think everybody's fed up, and uh, there's an ugly head that has reared itself, and that is the threat of a Marcos uh, re- return of the Marcoses to Malacanang, and that has given added importance to unity, to fielding a unified slate. Thank you.
So, Justice Carpio, the next step is, of course, you'll meet with Vice President Leni Robredo, you will consult with her, and if she accepts, then you will have a full slate, as you explained earlier today. Now, let's say you've done all these steps and it's a go. So, Isambayan will campaign for the chosen candidates. What will Isambayan do? Raise funds, be like a political party?
Well, Isambayan is a movement. We are not a political party because we have different political parties as part of our coalition. They have different ideologies, different political positions. So we have to remain a movement. So we will not be in conflict with our members. So, however, we want to increase our chances of winning in the election. So Isambayan will put up its own machinery to campaign for the unified slate. And the unified slate is composed of, in the Senate, you have here the coalition members. You will have candidates from Magdalo, candidates from Bayan Muna, candidates from all political parties, from the liberal uh, and independent groups. So we need to have a machinery also. The political parties that are part of our coalition will have their own political machineries, will have their own campaign machineries, but we will have our own for the entire coalition. So for this election, we will put up a machinery. We will, of course, ask support from businessmen who are willing uh, to support our efforts, and but we will not become a political party. That's certain.
So by when you put up this machinery will be separate from the political party's machinery, as you said. So you will not be involved in the vote watching. It will be really campaigning, grassroots information campaign, and fundraising, right?
Yes, campaigning, convincing people to vote for our slate. But we will also have people on the ground because we have a lot of members. We have chapters, uh, over 40 chapters, and we will be having more chapters. By the time of the election, we will have chapters in all cities and municipalities. So we will also be poll watching. Our members will be at the polls, also guarding the ballots.
Okay. So, Justice Carper, just looking back at this experience, no, are there lessons you can share from engaging in this event? What can you, as a lead convener, share with us lessons learned from Isambayan? Because as you know, Philippine politics is really a different world, and it's very difficult to get people together. In fact, when Isambayan was formed, there was already a lot of talk that they might not succeed. There was already naysaying. But anyway, what lessons? What does this tell you of Philippine politics?
Well, I think there are enough people of goodwill in our country that when there is a crisis facing the country, where there is a danger uh, uh, that is uh, that is visiting the country, the people of goodwill will come together to protect the country, to help the country recover, and it is in this spirit that this Isambayan has been put together. Because we are in a crisis. We have a pandemic crisis. We have a crisis of governance. Uh, we have suddenly become the sick man of Asia again. Uh, our education is lagging compared to our neighbors, and according to the NEDA, it will take us years to go back to our pre-pandemic levels in terms of our economic status or economic standing. So we are in a crisis actually, and this is a time when people of goodwill will come together to help the country stand up again.
Mm. So yeah, I remember Justice Carpio, the first time or the last time we had a similar group as Isambayan was in 1985. Do you remember that conveners group? But at the time, the context was so different, so they were able to put up a single candidate, no, that was Cory Aquino. But that's a different context. So now it has become more difficult. But so how different is this 2022 elections? How will it be different from other recent presidential elections?
Well, first of all, because of the pandemic, this will be a different election. There will be no house-to-house campaigning. There will be no rallies in plazas. This is a election that will be fought in social media, in the television and airwaves. So that makes this election different, vastly different, and this is an election where money counts because you have to buy time in social media, in the television, and in radio stations. So that's one. This is the physical constraints will change the way the campaign will be conducted in this election. Uh, Second, this is a different kind of government. It has no qualms about uh, transferring funds for election purposes. Uh, this government has increased the budget for the NTF LCAC, the National Task Force to end the local communist armed conflict. And that NTF LCAC has the authority to give 22 million pesos per barangay if they are cleared of communist insurgency, and it's up to this NTF-LCAC to determine whether the barangay is cleared, and that's soft money being given to the barangay. And right now their budget is 19 billion, and they want to increase it to almost 30 billion for 2022, and that's the election period. And even now, they have so much money, and they might realign funds because there's about 100 billion of congressional insertions, which have been held back under the for later release (FLR), and the president can realign this into the budget of NTF LCAC. So the administration will be awash with funds that they can distribute to barangays at at the rate of 22 million per barangay. And can you just imagine that? President Duterte has built legal infrastructure to use government funds for the elections. That's what it amounts, but that's what he has created. And he wants Congress now to increase the budget of NTF-ELCAC to almost 29 to 30 billion, and that will wipe out the opposition. So I hope Congress will uh, will not, at least for the first half of 2022, will not give a budget to NTF-ELCAC. If it gives a budget, it should not be used uh, in the first half of 2022, because it's very obvious this is very easy money to distribute to the people. Thank you.
So, with what you said, Justice Carpet, there'll be really, I mean, Isambayan, the opposition will be really up against a very powerful enemy. I mean, adversary in this 2022 election. So, aside from the, let's say, social media, mass media campaign, of course, there will be on the ground campaigning, but maybe in percentage terms, like 20%. I mean, it's the very difficult to imagine purely a social media, mass media campaign, isn't it?
Yes, but because the even in the U.S. They had a difficulty conducting physical campaign, so it will be worse here. Uh, so I think there will be no Plaza Miranda type of rallies. There will be no rallies in plazas because that's against the COVID regulation. So it will be social media, radio, and television, and uh, Viber, and uh, all the campaigning done through cellular phones. So this is a different campaign, and the administration is way ahead of everybody because they have the funds. Uh, it's very expensive to put up troll farms, and the Duterte administration has invented troll farms in the Philippines, introduced it in Philippine politics, and they have been successful in the 2010 and 2016 and 2019 elections. So it will be a difficult campaign for the opposition. That's why we need to really uh, awaken the people that their civil liberties, their democratic institutions are in danger, because we have an administration that will use everything in its power to make their candidates win.
Wow, Justice Carpenter, what a daunting prospect in 2022. Maybe the final question. We have comments, but these are more supporting Lenny or disliking Lenny. This is quite a polarized conversation, according to Jaira Rojas, our producer, who's monitoring the comments. So, maybe for the final question, when will you get the call from Vice President Lenny Robredo? We're all waiting. I mean, the public is waiting. This is also full of suspense. Tomorrow is October 1, and the filing begins.
That's correct. Well, my gut feel is she will make a decision in a few days.
Okay. Maybe one more final question, Justice Carpio, since we have you already here. Maybe just to talk a short message to our listening public, to the viewers, to those listening to us about the need to go out to vote and why what Isambayan really wants to achieve in this election.
Well, I think the nation is in crisis right now, economically, morally, and politically, because we have the Duterte administration that has uh, done away with our civil liberties. It has an anti-terror law that will suppress freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of association. And you have a president who ignores the law, who ignores the Constitution. You have, the Constitution says that the exclusive economic zone in the West Philippine Sea, our exclusive economic zones in our maritime, in the seas, should be for Filipinos. All the fish, oil and gas should belong to the Filipinos. and only Filipino fishermen can fish in our exclusive economic zone. But he allowed the Chinese to fish in our exclusive economic zone in the West Philippine Sea. The Chinese have the largest fishing fleet in the world. Galunggong is now 3 times more expensive than when he assumed office. And our fishermen are complaining. Their fish catch is less than 50% of what they were catching before Duterte came in. So it's very clear. There's a clear violation of the Constitution. But I have pointed this out many times, but he just ignores it as if as if he has not done anything wrong. And there is no Congress that will hold him accountable. He can do whatever he wants with our Constitution. So I think we cannot allow this because if this continues, then if he can ignore this provision, he will ignore all other provisions, and that will set us back in terms of strengthening our democratic institutions, strengthening respect for the law and for our Constitution. So I think we should all say enough is enough, and let us bring back good governance to our government. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much, Justice Carpio. You'll be facing a very heavy schedule in the coming months. I mean, you will be involved in the campaign, as you said, the entire Isambayan with its machinery as well on the ground. So thank you very much, and we will await developments with the Vice President Robredo and the announcement of your full slate for 2022. Thank you, and good evening. Bye, Justice Carpio.
Thank you, Marites. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody.